Welcome to this video series on wellness program resources. Our topic for this video is surveying wellness interests. We're going to be addressing the question of how should you use a wellness interest survey. Number 50. I'd like to begin this video with a little story about a client that I had. And I was meeting with an HR director of about a 550 employee company that produced medical electronics and manufactured medical electronic devices. We had gone through the initial dance, if you will, of the consultant and the HR manager that's really, in a sense, trying to define what the task is going to be. And I, as a consultant, was really working on being able to assure this individual that he knew what he wanted to do and that I could help him with the problem. So as we were going through that initial dance, there was kind of a quid pro quo of a concern for how the program, the wellness program, employee wellness program that I was working on and had been asked to put together, how that was going to really address the needs of employees. And we also were in a situation where the CEO of the company was a pretty strong driver and really wanted things nailed down. And I began to probe the HR manager and ask, how much do you know about the needs of your employees, and what should we be addressing as we think about what kind of targets, behavioral targets, the wellness program should deal with. And as we talked about that and I asked questions about it, it became apparent that we also needed fairly good documentation of whatever needs the program was to address to satisfy the CEO's interest and the CEO's requirements. There also was a general sense, because this was an engineering and manufacturing kind of a company, that there be quantitative credibility in whatever we ended up doing related to the needs of the population. So we went through, and I went through and suggested that we do a survey to find out how and what the employee interest level was among various types of target opportunities that we had and program activities. So I basically then went away and did a draft of an employee wellness interest survey. And that particular device I brought back to him. He looked it over and thought that it was probably a good initial effort to survey his employees. So we then went through the process of setting up the survey and the survey device and survey process. So that particular engagement really emphasized that we needed, and I needed as a consultant, to have some sort of tool that was going to be useful for being able to help an employer figure out what it is that my employees are interested in, what do they perceive they need. There's obviously the issue, the technical issue of being able to look at other collateral evidence and derive some kinds of areas that the wellness program should address. But we did want to also include employee interest as one of the major ways of being able to determine what kinds of activities the wellness program was going to offer. So now let's go over the major kinds of information that can be collected in an employee interest survey that can help you decide what kind of programming and what kind of focus the program should have. When we consider the type of information that would be important to collect in a survey of employees, to really help provide a grounding for the design of the program. The first area that we usually think of is the area of demographics. And demographics essentially allow us to ask basic questions about age, gender, composition of the workforce, and the issues of the age categories that the individuals that are completing the survey device, that their ages, so that it can be compared with some data about the overall employee workforce, so that we have an idea that our survey results are either representative or not representative of the individuals that are in that population. So demographics are usually one of the first areas, and we're going to go over some examples of how you might ask those questions, particularly on a survey that is anonymous. One does not put their name on it, but they do give us some characteristics which allow us to look at the representativeness of the survey device itself. Secondly, the current health behaviors. So we want to ask about some of the specific ones that wellness really is in the best position to address. So that's an issue that has to do with really asking a set of questions about what common health behaviors people are engaging in. And then we'll also talk about another example of how you might use those questions to actually get a little deeper into why they have not changed those behaviors. But we'll show you how to do that in a minute. Next, our readiness to change. And this is based on the trans-theoretical model, Prochaska, DiClemente, Velsier, and others that have helped identify this readiness to change phenomena. And it involves, 5 basic stages. Pre-contemplation, I'm not thinking about making a behavior change of a particular type. And let's just use, for an example, engaging in fitness activities, becoming more physically active. So if I'm not thinking about it at all, I would be in the stage of readiness called pre-contemplation. And I need certain kinds of information to help me get out of that pre-contemplation. The second stage is contemplation. I'm thinking about it, but I haven't made any commitment to actually engage or to do the things that I need to start doing a more healthy behavior. The third stage is preparation, and that's usually when I've contemplated enough and I've basically then decided, well, by the end of the month, I'm gonna find a fitness club and start working out, or begin a walking program, or do something that enables me to maybe participate in aerobics at work. But I'm essentially in that preparation stage. The fourth stage is action stage. And that's basically when someone has been doing it, but they're very uneven. Their performance and their engagement in that particular behavior is very uneven. So if it's physical activity, I might do 2 times this week, 4 times next week, 1 time, then a week after that, then 0, then 2, then 4, then 3. So I'm all over the board. The fifth stage of readiness to change in the trans-theoretical model deals with the issue of being consistent in my pursuit of that particular behavior. So if we were thinking about the number of times I work out each week, it might be 4 times this week, 5 times next week, 3 times the following week, and then back to 4, 4, 4, 5, 3, 1, 5, 5, 4, 4. That's the kind of pattern that we're really dealing with. So the importance of this particular model and its usefulness, its utility, is that it allows us to differentiate the kind of information that people need depending on their stage of readiness to change. It's a pretty powerful model. It's got a lot of scientific backing, and it's something that has been very helpful in coaching and counseling people. The next area are the interests in terms of topical interests. So what are people interested in? There's really literally hundreds of possible health related kinds of topics. So we want to know something about their level of interest and what they're interested in, particularly in terms of the general topics of health and wellness. The next area is usually asking them, are you interested in engaging or participating in specific programs? So we offer some examples of programs and ask people, would you in fact participate in this particular kind of program? So it gives us an idea of what the percentage is if within the workforce or within the group that we are surveying. and hopefully having a representative survey result that we can apply to the whole population. Next area is the intention to participate. So we can actually ask them, will you participate in this? And we can ask them specific questions about what they might participate in. The next area is oftentimes used to help identify wellness ambassadors, wellness reps, or wellness champions. And that's the volunteers that we use to help really provide the distribution of the support for wellness across the workforce. So we can ask people, would you like to volunteer for the wellness program? And then we will ask for their contact information and then keep track of them and let them know that we will be having a meeting coming up, as the program goes through its evolution and its development, and that we would like them to participate as a wellness champion within the workforce. And finally, the open-ended inquiry. We always want to ask people, what other things or what activities would you suggest we think about offering within the employee wellness program? So as you see, you look down the types of information. These are the broad range of types of information. And in summary, the use of an employee wellness interest survey can help you with the design of your employee wellness program and help you document some of the health needs in your population. Now, let's go ahead and look at the actual survey tool that we developed and I developed for this particular client. Now, to begin with, you have a link in the description for this video that actually identifies the Word document that is this tool. This is a 3-page Word document that includes a number of questions, and it includes the general types of material information that we've just went through. So my suggestion is for you to pause the video, click on the link, and then download the tool. And then you can restart the video and then follow along as I cover the contents and the highlights of this instrument. So if you'll notice, when you look at the tool itself, there's a general statement that helps the individual employee understand that this is a survey device. This, by the way, can either be done in a paper basis if you have relatively small populations, because you then have to manually process the information on the responses from the people who respond to the survey. And then the next area is first tell us about yourself, and male, female, age group, your work site, your department and work unit, if in fact that's something that you can help you determine the representational nature of the responses. You're going to be summarizing all the responses. So that's where we then apply the information to the design process. The first area there is underneath the demographic information is your current health habits. And these are set up so that they're statements. I exercise vigorously for at least 20 minutes, 3 or more days a week. Yes, no. And then there is a complete if appropriate. I would if. And it's just designed to give people a moment to think about what would it take for me to start exercising. So if we try to get some additional behavioral management, behavioral influence out of the structure of the information that we ask in the survey. As you notice the content areas, it's exercise, smoking, the issues around obesity, the issues around avoiding too much fat in my diet, the ability to practice stress management activities, then blood pressure and blood pressure check, then the issue of seatbelt use, and then the low back injury or low back pain bout, then the issue around the alcohol consumption, 3 or more drinks of alcohol each day. Then I usually consult a medical self-care book or website when I'm sick. And then I make an effort to eat enough fiber from whole grains, cereals, fruits, etc. And then 12 is I eat breakfast every day. So you can substitute additional issues of health behavior, but these are some of the core areas that wellness programs oftentimes address. If you go into the second page, question 13 at the top identifies approximately 40 or so different topic areas. So this allows you, and it asks people to fill out and identify 5 of the most important ones for them. And you then can create what's called a histogram, which allows you to then rate them based on the frequency and prevalence of identification by the survey respondents. So you go from the least indicated, perhaps 1 or 2 people indicating something, up to something that maybe 50 people end up identifying. So these can also be updated with newer health-related issues that come along. Then question 14 is, would you personally participate in a wellness program if we offered one? That's really asking the direct on question of, would you participate in this program? And then, would you participate in any of the following wellness activities on a regular basis if they were offered at work? And then check all those that apply. So it allows you to lay out different activities that kind of tell your population, these are some of the things that we're thinking about. And then you have an opportunity to then find out how many people are actually interested in the various activities. And then 16 is, would you like a financial incentive for this? There's a good deal of literature out there in the scientific literature around medicine and behavioral health and behavioral economics that basically says that people will respond to a much higher degree if in fact there is some financial value in their responding. So this asks that question. And then the question 17 is, which of the following categories would you place yourself in? This, by the way, parallels what might be called a general stages of readiness to change assessment. So it allows you to kind of identify how many are in that pre-contemplation, contemplation, action, or preparation rather, then action. And then the last stage, which I forgot to mention on the previous slide, was maintenance. So that's the fifth stage of readiness to change that is part of the trans-theoretical model. And then would you be interested in completing a confidential health survey? That's a health risk assessment, and potentially taking some preventive screening, and then having a computer processed personal health set of recommendations for health improvement. And then 20 is our open-ended question. And then 21 is actually the question which leads to your ability to identify wellness champions. And by the way, when I've used this survey maybe 400 times, 400 plus times, and in most cases you find that about 1 to 3% of your population is willing to actually be wellness ambassadors or wellness advisors or wellness champions. So again, this is just a 3-page survey. Feel free to add things to it, take things out that don't correspond to what your sense of direction is. But it is an instrument that can provide you some pretty useful information about the design of your program. And activities can be included in the choices, which then allow you to get a sense of what people think about those specific opportunities and potentials. So some of the key questions that you need to deal with as you think about the survey is do you have enough justification to conduct a survey, a wellness interest survey? Is there a clear sense that this is going to help you and that your management will benefit from your use and execution of a survey? The second question is, will the survey results likely lead to a significantly stronger program design and proposal? Usually we have to propose a program or propose the modification of an existing program in order to get management approval and funding. And then the third question is, what should you ask employees? And how should you present the data from the survey to senior management? And I will say, by the way, that a lot of the lower survey responses from employees comes from the fact that as an employer, we oftentimes don't give feedback to people about the summary answers that have been submitted by other employees. So that tends to undermine future survey completion rates. So if this would be an opportunity for you to actually give the summary answers back to the entire workforce, and that will help enormously the next time you go to ask the employees about a particular issue and want to use a survey device to do that. The last question is, what process and steps should you use to conduct the survey and to then present the information to senior management to help them with the design? And a few more tips about using these that I found over the years and over those 400 plus uses is you want to consider an HRA if the employer and if their interest is to actually move ahead with it, because an HRA is not anonymous. It is identifiable to each individual, and it also allows me to do some follow-up and some targeting. So the HRA is actually more effective as a data collection device because I can do some other things with it rather than have an anonymous survey where I really don't know who completed the survey or what response and information and follow-up might be valuable to them. You also want to consider automated processing if you're going to use any size population survey that would prohibit you from manually processing these. You also want to have the ability to remind employees of the survey and to actually give them the information and summarized information back that you have collected through this device. You also don't expect corresponding percentages of participation. So you can't take the evidence that comes into you through a survey device, and then if you get 25% of people saying they'll participate in a particular kind of wellness program, don't expect 25% of your employees to participate. So we can't use these percentages. These are only ballparks for us to give us an idea of what are the more popular areas. And you also want to consider the evaluation potential if you were to use this survey, even in an anonymous form, and you used it in the following year, you could in fact have a question at the top that says, did you complete this survey last year? And if they say yes, then you can include all of those surveys into a cohort, which can then give you an idea, a pretty clear idea of what in fact is a possible, evaluative inference you can draw from that year of programming. So it does have some evaluation utility, but again, you have to use it in a careful scientific way. In summary, an employee wellness interest survey significantly helped this particular client and many other of my clients to get a handle on their employee interests in the wellness space. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. New videos are published weekly. For more information, search for WellCert on the web. WellCert is the premier professional certification for wellness program leaders. Be sure to check out this training program if you want to improve your wellness programming skills. And remember, delivering great employee wellness programming is a high calling. Let's do our best to get the job done. Good luck with your programming efforts.